what people are talking about when they say the 99%, the 90%, the 1%. So this picture shows you income distribution in the United States. And the black figures at the top are the percentage of people in each of these categories. So the bottom 50%, these black figures represents 50% of the population, and the dollar signs represent the percentage of the dollars, the percentage of the income that that group of people earns. So what this picture is telling you is 50%, the bottom 50%, earn 13% of the total income in the United States. Then the next 25% earn 21% of the income. The next 15% earn 23%. And then the 9%, which is that 9% right below the 1%, gets 26%. And the top 1%, the percent that we're not part of, most of us, get 17% of total income in the United States. So that's the state of income inequality in the United States. Of course, people's income is also partly a function of their assets. And so what this chart shows you is the percent of different types of assets that are owned by the top 1% and the bottom 90%. So the bottom 90% are those short little columns, those short orange columns. And of course, the big yellow columns are the top 1%. And the categories are stocks and mutual bonds. So the top 1% has 50% of the value of assets that are in stocks and mutual bonds. They have 60% of financial securities, 40% of trusts, over 60% of business equity, and then about 30% of non-home real estate. So the combination of income and assets, the combination of earned income and assets is what really makes the top 1% extraordinarily wealthy. Now, this is a picture. Oh, that's not the one I want to show you. Okay, this is a picture which represents inequality worldwide. So I've just showed you that the United States is very unequal. But what this picture shows you is how the United States looks relative to the rest of the world. So the United States is obviously is the purple thing here. All of the countries that are in blue have less unequal or more equal distribution of income than the United States. All of the countries that are orange have a more unequal distribution. That puts us almost in the same class with South American countries, Central American countries, which we have, which we used to call banana republics, and Southern Africa. We are less equal in our income distribution than China, which has been trying to manage tremendous rebellion over the inequality in the distribution, the increasing inequality in the distribution of their income, as is true of the former Soviet republics in Russia. So we are the most unequal, we are the country among all advanced countries, we have the most unequal distribution of income. Now, what do people in these various categories, shall we say, make? So this picture shows what's happened to income from 1980 to 2008. And the top line is the top 1%, and it shows that in the last 28 years, their income has gone from an average of $400,000 to about $1.2 million in 2008. Whereas the bottom 90% is this little tiny red line at the bottom, which says $31,000. That's the average income, family income, the average household income for the bottom 90%. And what it shows you is that it hasn't changed in 25 years, which is not the way it used to be. Okay, so who are the people in the top 1%? So this is a graph that's based on this is a graph that was in the New York Times just last week. And what it shows is the top 1%, among the top 1% of taxpayers, they, in 1979, were earning 9% of total U.S. income, and by 2000 were earning 17% of total U.S. income. So that's an 85% increase in their income. Remember that the bottom 90% have had no increase in income. The 66% of the people who are in the top 1% are represented by these particular occupations. So executives and managers who have gone from a 3.65 to 6% of total income. Finance professors, finance professionals, so this is the Wall Street people, have gone from less than 1% to 2.7, so they've had almost a 300% increase in their income. And then actually doctors who we think make way too much money have actually not fared as well as these other professions in this process. And just to give you a sense of how much these occupations make relative to the rest of us, these bars represent the share of income divided by the share of earners. So executives earn 20 times more than their share of income is 20 times their share of their representation in the population. So if they were 1% of the population, they would be earning 20% of the income. So these are huge disparities between the very top. Okay. Oh. What have I done? I need a technical reference. Thank you. All right, so why is this happening? Just quickly, why is this happening? Maybe it's because income just hasn't been going up overall. Well, it turns out that that's not the case. This chart shows you the growth in the overall income in the United States, so the growth in GDP, really, from 1979, which is the green line. So that's how much the pie has been growing. And it shows that the pie has grown in the last 30 years by 80%. But the share of the pie that has gone to the top 1% has grown by 240%, whereas the share of the pie for the rest of for everybody, so that includes the 1% at the bottom, has barely grown at all. So what this shows you is that disproportionately, all of the increase or the improvement in income that we've had over the last 30 years has really gone to a very small group of people. Now, actually, so let me ask this question here. Is this a sort of a natural outcome of the way the economy works? That these are the rewards, these are the appropriate rewards that are going to the people who are the most productive in the economy, and it makes sense that the people at the top are earning all this money and the rest of us are having very stagnant incomes. And I think the answer is, well, what do you think? What's the answer? Right? Is this a natural thing? Well, the answer is, well, is it a natural thing? Come on. No? Because I'll tell you, a lot of people in my economics classes would say yes, because that's what they learn. That's what they learn in standard economics. And, but what I want to show you is that this is not an easy graph, but this is a graph that gives you a sense of the history of income inequality in the United States. This graph starts in 1917. I think you've heard a lot about how we've achieved levels of inequality now that are comparable to 1929. Well, that's what this picture shows you. These points at the top down here are from 1929, right before the Great Depression, and it's measuring the percent of income that's going to the top 10% of the distribution. And then you see this dramatic drop in inequality beginning during World War II and after, and that dramatic drop is sustained for 30 years and then begins to rise again in 1979. All of the things that Mab was talking about that have happened in the last 30 years are the things that have contributed to that rise in inequality. But what this chart really tells you, in a sense, is that some point in history we figured out how to make this a more equally, how to make this a nation in which income is more equally distributed, and we can figure out how to do that again. We actually know how to do that. But the thing that we have to figure out is why there was this big rise and how we can reverse that big increase in inequality.